A 3.5 mile railway built for one singular monumental job: to construct a life-giving reservoir, and at its heart was a locomotive named Langsett, for many years hauling mountains of materials to and from the construction site. And then, just like that, it was gone. All that remained were the ghosts of the 3 rails accommodating 2 different gauges, an engineering marvel that its purpose served simply vanished into history. In the 1890s, industrial Sheffield was desperately thirsty. The solution was a new reservoir, but the chosen site was miles from any railhead. Hauling thousands of tons of stone and cement over boggy moors with horses and cart was impossible, so they did the quintessential Victorian thing. They decided to build their own industrial strength railway. The railway route snaked its way out of the Stocksbridge Steelworks yard with a challenging climb arcing over the Little Don River. Today, the Transpennine Trail follows this exact route, and in this video I aim to walk the full length of this railway from where it begins just outside of Stocksbridge and onto its final destination of Langsett Reservoir. So I'm stood on Stocksbridge Road, and this was taken out of use when the Stocksbridge bypass opened, which is just a couple of hundred yards to my right. Now incidentally, the Stocksbridge bypass intercepts the former railway line that went off towards Langsett Reservoir. So to begin our journey to follow the route off towards Langsett Reservoir following the Sheffield Corporation Waterworks Railway, we've got to follow the abandoned Manchester Road, and that is this way. So on the right hand side we've got the line that was the route into Stocksbridge Steelworks, that's the purple one, and then in the centre of the map we get to Underbank Reservoir. That's where I'm going to pick up the route today, heading west right the way along the full route until we get to Langsett Reservoir just over here. If I zoom in just a little bit more, you can see there's Manchester Road. That is long abandoned due to the Stocksbridge bypass. The route followed closely to the old Manchester Road. So that's where I'm going to pick up the route, follow the abandoned road, and then pick up the track bed just beyond the Stocksbridge bypass. Now at this point traffic can come up here. There's a cottage on my right and you can see that is probably a vehicle related to that cottage. And I know you've probably come to see a disused railway walk, but it's important that we include this abandoned section of road because it does take us off towards our Sheffield Corporation Railway. So here's a short glimpse of the Dam and Underbank Reservoir, operated by Yorkshire Water. It's completed by 1907. The old Manchester Road runs alongside the reservoir just here at Underbank, and it proceeds on to follow the track bed once we get across from the Stocksbridge bypass. I'm going to turn you around and you can see the old road just here, look, and if we look close enough we can see the centre alignment, look. There's a white line just there, look. See that? And that is very much faded, and some might say this road looks like it's in better condition than a lot of the ones that we're using today. Evidence of another white line just there, look, and so on, another one and another. It is quite overgrown. I'm actually walking now right where the white lines are coming down the centre, so the reservoir side, that is pretty much completely covered with a bit more space on the right hand side. And notice the old stone wall going along the edge of the road. It does indeed give us a rough idea of how wide this road is or was. Back in the centre again right now with the white lines. I'll show you evidence of that right now. Look at that, look at that, there we go. And then again the stone wall on the opposite side. It's a nice bit of stonework, little conduit going below the Manchester Road just down there where that lorry's just gone past. Right, just through here is some kind of crossing. We'll get across the Manchester Road Stocksbridge bypass and eventually pick up the track bed on the opposite side. Okay, I'm over the road. That was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. The road isn't as busy as it actually sounded. Track bed is right ahead of me and I'm going to take you along there now. Just slightly off the abandoned line, you are greeted with this footpath that takes you over these little pipes, but I find this quite interesting down here, look. It's like a tunnel that goes underneath Manchester Road. I wonder how far that goes, taking those pipes below ground. And also passing over, there is what is it's like a little brook, and tiny little culvert that must pass below the track bed. It's quite high up, so I'm not really gonna go down there. I don't think I really can. There is a little bit of water flow, look. There it is, look, that's nice, isn't it? Let's see if I can get down there. Is that the top of a telegraph pole maybe just there? There's the other side of that, what appears to be a telegraph pole. Very, very long, isn't it? There we go. That's rather nice, isn't it? A little bit of water flowing through it. And there it is, look, coming out the other side where it passes below Manchester Road. Let's crack on with following this Sheffield Waterworks track bed. So I'm now happy to say I'm on the railway line, closed over 100 years ago. I believe the last workings along this line were in 1912. The occasional chalk train was used along here after the reservoirs were completed. But the track bed going forward does look lovely and clear, doesn't it? Rather flat. Now the River Don had to be diverted slightly in one or two places. There's a locomotive that run along this line at 3-foot gauge. That was called the Little Don. Cute little name for a cute little engine. But also, unusually for this line, it was dual gauge, because not only was the 3-foot gauge present, also a standard gauge line also came down here. The actual track was dual gauge, so it was a single line with both gauges running along it. So why did they bother with 3 rails? And it was a stroke of genius, because the outer standard gauge rails brought in heavy materials like cement from the main railway network. Nestled inside this was a 3-foot narrow gauge line, as you can see from these photographs just here, which used one of the standard rails plus a third inner rail. The smaller lines shuttled the clay and stone from on-site quarries, and the dual system allowed 2 different operations on one track bed, maximising efficiency and thus eliminating delays. We've got what looks like drainage channel just here, look. So it's like it's yeah, there it is, look, some more. You see that? It's like the colour of red brick, look. Like terracotta. Let's keep going. And just to the right of that, look, it looks as if we've got old brackets and carriers for cabling going all the way along. If I stand to the right, you can just see the little hooks popping out, look, on the outside of the posts. I can get up quite close to these ones, look. Unusually, the brackets are actually, they're on both sides, look. So I'm not totally convinced these were for cables. I don't know. I've not seen them like that before. The drainage has disappeared on my left hand side. There's still some remnants of it there, look. That one. And a few bits scattered around. But all in all, a nice flat surface. These are continuing along, look, you can just make out there is actually a cable running along in places, but it has dropped down. It's almost like a platform edge just there, isn't it? And it is probably platform height. The guttering has reappeared, look, coming down here from the drainage. It's crazy to think how long that's been sat there. It probably still does its job occasionally as well, doesn't it? Rather reasonably high embankment at this point as well. You might just be able to make out the road down there. A car is about to go past, you may see it. There you go. So we are quite high up. Industrial units to my right, lovely and clear from where I came from. Some remnants of old sleepers here, look. Still got the holes clearly in there, look, so that's extraordinarily old, isn't it, that one? It's a very, very straight section for maybe 1/4 of a mile going forwards. So I'm going to push on. If I see anything, I'll stop and talk to you about it and show it you too. If not, I'll see you at the very end. Got railway sleepers, look, dug in to protect the path from sliding down. If we zoom in somewhat, you can see where the rail chairs were, look, and there are quite a few of them. It is showing as being a stream, and I can only assume there was a culvert. Yep, I'm going down. That is probably no longer present, but let's go and just check this out without falling. So yeah, on Maps Ordnance Survey it does show, we'll have to be careful here because we don't know where the water would normally drop down. I don't want to be falling through a hole in the ground. You can see there's a dip just there. It must disappear because this is a dried up stream because it's summer, and I imagine it used to pop out on the other side of the embankment. So nothing else to see really down here. Let's get back up to the track bed. I'd have liked to have seen a little culvert going below the track bed, but it's not to be on this occasion. Hopefully there's another opportunity further down. Gosh, that's a bit of a hole down there, isn't it? So just beyond that hole we just seen, over there on the other side of the road is where Underbank Reservoir, it's the end of it basically. So I will add that there were industrial tracks in there to help build that dam wall when it was constructed. So there's all these little narrow gauge industrial lines to take the stone down to the dam, similar to what most of them must have been like it was built around that time. And the old sleepers are still ever present. So I'm at the other end now of that long straight I mentioned a couple of moments ago. We're about to take a bit of a curve around to the left. We're probably about halfway towards Langsett Reservoir now, with us bypassing the full length of Underbank Reservoir. Look at that retaining wall that's been put up to support the embankment of the track bed on this curve coming around on the hillside. So was that put in at a later date or during construction? Slopes down and then meets where that tree trunk is in the centre of the shot at the bottom. I shall keep an eye out for any more such things along here. Got ourselves a bridge just here, look. Both post coping stones are on top. Looks like a recent addition on the fences though, doesn't it? So it's well fenced off. You can see it a little bit there, look. And we can take you over to the other side. It's looking like it may be square, doesn't it? So appears to be our first bridge of this route. Probably can get down and have a little look at that. Yes, there we go. So it was a square or rectangle shaped bridge. Not really sure what that would have been for, but I don't think it's as old as the railway. Now then, this looks interesting. Track bed's about to take a turn to the right. We've got the steep embankment down there, but it appears to go into a bit of a cutting just here. It's been dug out, and then I'm assuming on the opposite side it's just gonna drop down, isn't it? Yeah. So I wonder what purpose that was. Maybe there was just a lot of muck to dig out for the track bed, but why wouldn't they just let it go down the hill? Because that must have been what they'd done to the rest of it. Anyway, more interestingly, we've got a bridge coming up, a second bridge. Looks like I'm definitely going to be able to get down to it. But what is it? I don't think it's a road, you know. Might be a stream. Or it looks a bit too deep for farm access. I think there's going to be water down here. Cool, blimey, yeah, it's a stream, look, and it is indeed quite a drop. But what I've just seen, you're going to love this. I'm going to stand on this coping stone. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? I'm going to attempt to get down. Here we go. Now, interestingly, so you can see the stream is flowing down, look. Now that disappears into a little culvert below the bridge. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. It's such a tall bridge as well, look. You can go the other side. So, nice bit of stonework here, look, coming down to the base. That's quite a curious thing, isn't it? Let's go and have a look at the other side. I can hear sheep. I'm not sure why this bridge would actually have the stream covered underneath, because it's not like it goes anywhere. You can't get vehicles up there, and it's not really a footpath. So what was the purpose of this? I mean, the culvert could have just passed below the road around about there. You can see where the car is now, and then it's going to deposit itself on the opposite side, isn't it? It's like that's a waterworks pipe as well just there, isn't it? What a lovely find. And I have managed to come across an old photograph showing the bridge known as Horseshoe Bridge. You can see where the walls are tapering in. I believe this must be taken from the roadside, the main road that's busy with today's traffic. Can't tell from this image whether the culvert goes below ground, but I'm sure it does, dead in centre in that darkened area. I love that bridge. That is an absolute beauty, isn't it? What else can I say? Nice bit of engineering for such a short-lived railway. It just shows you what effort was put into designing these and building them as well. It does in fact taper in as well. So you've got that beautiful archway coming over the top, built on a foundation of coping stones before this Yorkshire stone comes down, covered into itself just like that. And I've stood directly above that culvert, which drops down with the brook just there. But this itself is a real delicate and intricate piece of engineering, isn't it? Dropping down below and coming out below the railway and the other side of Manchester Road. Small occupation bridge, look. You can just about see down there, very, very narrow, farm traffic. The opposite side, exactly the same. And track bed continues on. Found this very confusing. Private land, no public right of way on this gate. Now, it's going to be for the field on the opposite side, but I don't get why they wouldn't have put it on the actual gate that they're referring to, because this is also a public footpath gate just there, look, that we can just go through. So it is a bit misleading, that. I don't know why it's not on the other gate, but we can carry on. Just a wee bit of confirmation there that it is indeed a public footpath still. Old drainage inspection section there, look, you can just make that out down there. It always feels weird when you go through a farm, which I have done. Still got the footpath gate there, look, so the track bed is going to be this, isn't it now? It looks like it's probably just under half a mile before we get to Langsett Reservoir. Track bed's gone a little bit more rural now, hasn't it? Away from that lovely surface that we've had for the bulk of it. Right, at this point we've lost the track bed. For some reason it's down there and it's kind of morphed into this footpath across the top. Looks like you could go back down that way. It looks heavily overgrown though. The other alternative is through this field. So I've just double checked maps, and my understanding is this is pretty much the end of the track bed. It curves around just down here before it would hit the wall of Langsett Reservoir, the dam wall. Well, it wouldn't hit it, would it? Because it helped build it, but you know what I mean. The track bed comes to that abrupt stop. So I am going to push on down here a touch, and we should just see if it does in fact produce anything, but I'm not expecting it to. But it is a cut-in look, as you can see. So stay with me, you can discover this with me. I'll keep it uninterrupted. I'm assuming it's probably going to bring me out onto Manchester Road as we go around here, although I can't hear the traffic. I think I'm going to cut you off for a moment, and then I think I can see a stone abutment down here. Could it be that Manchester Road actually goes above the former track bed? And would you look at that, it does indeed. How about that? That was a nice little way to finish off this railway walk along the Sheffield Corporation Waterworks Railway. Well, this is rather nice, isn't it? Lovely bit of stonework there. Now it has been shotcreted to slightly look with the blue brick below the surface. And track bed, well, I would have shot over there, but we've got this diversion just here, look. That's what it's like coming out the other side. Reverse up a little bit, and you can see the angle that I'm at. It does look like it's been cleared of vegetation recently. I wasn't really sure I was going to be able to get to the reservoir along that path without going on the road, but it's worked out all right. There it is, Langsett Water Treatment Works and the reservoir on the opposite side. I'm doing this in August 2025, so the levels are quite low, but I'm sure it will be back to normal levels in around about 5 or 6 months. They certainly knew how to design and build these places, didn't they? Lovely, aren't they? The centre of shot being the cascade of water taking the overflow down as it heads down the valley towards Stocksbridge and Sheffield. I'm going to leave you right here below Manchester Road and this fantastic bit of Victorian railway engineering. Thank you for watching me follow the Sheffield Corporation Waterworks railway line. Going to carry on around Langsett Reservoir now after I've had a spot of lunch, and hang around at the Ronksey cabins once I can find them. They are fantastic. They're hidden away on the moorlands and they could save your life if you're up there. And then I shall be taking a look at Howden Reservoir and Derwent Reservoir before following the route of the Ashop diversion. The water that comes along the valley bypasses Ladybar Reservoir and tops up the water below Derwent Dam. See you in the very next one. Bye for now.